So I can't tell you really how other people feel or how other people dealt with certain things, but I can tell you from my point of view, and that's what I plan to do. What's up, turds, nerds, freaks, and geeks, and all that's in between? It's me, your girl, Daisy Dame, and welcome to, or welcome back to, my channel. I'm genuinely blessed to have you here. I really appreciate you guys. I see those of you who are membering back up. It really means a lot to me. If you haven't already, do check out my other socials like Twitch, Insta, Snap, TikTok. I'm on all of those platforms. Those are my main platforms, and I would love to see you there as well. So today, I just kind of wanted to talk about something. I went through something recently, and it was definitely life-changing, and it was hard, and it was complicated, and I know that I don't owe anyone an explanation, but I feel as though if I could help people with what I've been through, then this topic is worth it to me to discuss, right? So I had made mention that I was just dealing with a lot that had been going on recently, and I'm not the only one. You know, we're all going through our own stuff. Everybody is dealing with their own things. So just be considerate of that in the comments down below and to one another when you're commenting to one another. So moving forward, I just want to tell you about a couple of the things that occurred in my life that kind of led to where we are now and what had occurred. So I'm going to start from a bit of the beginning, and then we'll get to where we are last Monday. For school, for me, I'm sure like many others, wasn't the easiest. I still had friends. I still knew how to make friends and be social and everything, but studies and things like that I wasn't the best at. I'm definitely one-sided of my brain. I'm very creative, outgoing, spontaneous, things like that, right? Learning just was different for me. Normally, when people have thoughts or they're studying, their thoughts and studying falls right in line with one another. They can focus, they can get their work done, and they're not distracted tremendously all the time. For me, it wasn't like that. I describe my thoughts more like an air hockey game where the puck is like flying back and forth, and sometimes you score and it's good and you have a moment where things are really good, and then other times my thoughts are just ping-ponging back and forth. This was tough because a lot of teachers made me feel as though I wasn't trying hard enough. I felt ashamed, I felt inadequate, I felt like, why couldn't I get the grades? Why couldn't I do better, you know? And especially when you have siblings, like I have 2 brothers and a sister, so when your siblings are so intelligent and their grades are so good, and you're one of the only ones in the family whose grades are subpar, right? You're just struggling, like I just made it by the skin of my teeth most of the time. It just has that, you know, pressure to do better. And it wasn't like my parents were down on me about it. They always supported me. They were always really good to me. Thank the Lord I have the parents I have, you know. I really am grateful because some other parents would not have been as understanding to what's going on. So a lot of teachers made me feel less than. A lot of teachers would make fun of me in front of the class. They would put me down, and it hurt. It sucked. It felt like crap. It's hard when you already feel guilt and shame that you're not trying hard enough or doing enough, and then on top of it you have your teachers that are shaming you, right? And in the school I started off in, they had no problem shaming you. The teachers had no problem saying what they had to say to you, and it was harsh. And so bless my mother, because she went to many battles at that school just to have me treated just as anybody else, you know. The school clocked me right away as someone who might need extra help. I was always in summer school for the most part. I was always with an extra tutor. I always had that extra help. And I don't want to say all my teachers were bad, because they weren't. I had a couple teachers that really shined, that I felt saw me for who I was, and that really allowed me to thrive in that environment. They created an environment where I was able to thrive. And I am so forever appreciative to those teachers, because it was such a stark contrast to the ones that had mocked me in front of the entire class, to where my friends had to like call them out and get them to stop, because I would be close to tears. For all my teachers who let me doodle during class, for all the teachers that saw me for who I was, thank you. You know, it really made a big difference. And now I teach art out of my gallery to those with special needs, and I know the type of teacher that I would want to be for my students, and I just try and embody all of the good that was those teachers who made me feel special and allowed me to thrive in an environment where I could, okay? Yeah, there was a lot of little issues with school, a lot of little things like that, like not being able to pay attention during class, not being able to test properly. Tests always gave me anxiety, and I would panic, and I would forget everything, and I would blank, and then I couldn't focus. As I got older, other signs started showing up, other obvious signs that there was something going on with me. The fact that I always felt different was one thing. Like, I always felt like I was put on the wrong planet, like maybe I wasn't supposed to be here or something, and that's another sign. Yeah, other things in my life started showing up. For example, when I would work a job, I either quit, walked out of, or got fired from a few jobs because of my spontaneous acts, and because of not my moods, because my moods per se, like, for the most part, I can keep my moods in check, and I've made it this far, right? Like, what was going on in my life, I was still able to make this far in my life, right? I was still able to make this far and survive and cope and, to somewhat of a degree, handle my life, right? Jobs came and went because of my spontaneous behavior and the snap judgments I would make, you know, saying that I just didn't want to be treated that way anymore. I felt like there was something, you know, that I just couldn't thrive in that environment. One of the only jobs that I did have for the longest time was obviously Blockbuster. I talk about that very fondly. I know people who've been a fan of my channel for like a while, or a sub of my channel for a while, they know that I worked at Blockbuster for a long time, and I was able to keep that job for a good while. And then even after I left and moved, I worked at a different Blockbuster. So it was one of the only jobs that I could keep up with and handle without an issue. I kind of want to explain why that was. That's because it was something that I was interested in. It's because it was something that I genuinely enjoyed. It was something that I liked talking to people about. Many of you know, I play video games. I used to love movies. So these were things that I could keep interest in without losing interest, without getting bored. Other things that showed up in my life were simple, everyday things that seemed so easy for everybody else. And again, it brings more guilt and frustration and shame on yourself as to why you can't keep up, or why you can't cope, or why are you not able to do what everybody else can do so easily, right? So simple things like brushing my teeth every day, showering properly enough a week, which I still showered enough a week, but I could have done more, right? Like, when instead of showering 2 to 3 times a week, now I'm showering 5 to 6 days a week, right? Essentially, what this looked like for me was inability to focus, inability to test, inability to, I don't know, I guess keep up with certain social norms and understanding social cues. That was another thing that I had to teach myself, was how does a person make friends? How do people talk to one another? When I was younger, I never was shy or reserved, but I still had to really think hard about how people interact with one another, and what's a proper way to interact, and how do I make friends, and how do I start up a conversation and not seem weird or awkward or like a robot. Fast forward to the last few years, and As I got older, things got easier to manage. With proper diet and working out, these things, became easier to manage, but it wasn't a cure-all. It helped dramatically, but it didn't cure the chemical imbalance in my brain. So I spoke to my doctor and I discussed how I think that I really need to be tested again for certain things. And it ended up that I did have ADD and PTSD. So it wasn't really a surprise because of the things that I've been through in my life and the symptoms like that. And there are certain things that are just everyday things, like walking into a room and forgetting things. I know that's really relatable to everybody because a lot of people go through that. But for me, it was like every door I went through, I would forget why I'm there. And it was to the point where it would cause issues sometimes. It was to the point where I was missing appointments, getting kicked out of my dentist's office for missing multiple appointments. And it's not like I intended to miss those appointments. It's just because if I didn't write them down and keep track of it and keep consistently checking it, I would not have known. Yeah, so I kind of came to the realization that it's time that I do something about this. It's time that, I speak to a professional about it, because I knew that it was likely that I had ADD or ADHD due to all of these things in my past and going through school and how hard it was to focus and just keep up with everybody else. That was one thing that I always had to tell myself, is that just because I'm not like everybody else doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. There's not something wrong with me. I'm not broken. I just have a chemical imbalance. Another thing I noticed is that when growing up, when I would fail at something, I would take it as something very personal. I would take it as like, I failed at that, so I must not be good. I must not be worthy, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to make a change and to try harder and to work harder. I would be discouraged from the rip, and I would either not even attempt it then, thinking that I was never capable, when I'm totally capable. But at the time, I just didn't see that. When I think about this and when I was younger and how the school kind of clocked me for it right away, it kind of upset me, kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, you know what I mean? Because they do make you feel like it's something wrong with you, but it's not. It's not. There's so much stigma and such attached to this, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But yeah, so I knew I had to do something about this. So I spoke to my doctor, and it turns out that I do have ADD and, like I said, PTSD. So it was just nice to know what has been the issue, what has caused me to be so spontaneous at times, what has caused me to be so careless with myself and my existence. Why I wasn't more concerned with loving myself and caring for myself properly. Another funny thing that happened recently was I messaged my best friend from elementary school, and we're still very, very close to this day. He and I were always so close, and we're still very close. But yeah, he's still definitely one of my best friends. But we were discussing it. Like, I had texted him because we were talking about video games recently, and I just wanted to let him know, like, hey, isn't this wild? Like, didn't we already know this? Like, can you believe it? And to my surprise, essentially, he told me, you know what, Daisy, it's okay, because me too. And I was shocked, and I was like, what? And he said, yeah, me too. He's been getting help for it for a while now. And I just was amazed, and it makes sense. It makes sense why we were such good friends, why we understood each other. Like, we felt like nobody else understood each other like we did in that friendship, you know? Like, we felt like other people just didn't get us. And I get that now. I get why. I was very hesitant to get help. Because when I was growing up, medicine wasn't really the answer, you know what I mean? Because people were so hesitant. And I don't blame my family at all for that. Like, I praise them for trying to do what was best with their knowledge, and they went the all-natural route, and I can't blame them for that, you know? So, yeah, but I just felt like it. They did what they could, now I have to do what I can do, right? I have to take up for myself. I'm an adult. It's the right thing to do by my son, to continue to care for myself properly and educate myself, learn more about it. And to be honest, the stigma attached to these things, it blows my mind. It's crazy to me, because the day I found out, I cried the whole day. I bawled my eyes out. I was calm when I found out, and because my doctor is so amazing. My doctor is the best. I love her so much to bits. Such a good soul, but yeah, she's amazing. And so I tested not too high, but enough to know that I'm on the scale of ADD. And yeah, it wasn't too high of a score, but it was enough to know that there was this issue, and there's a chemical imbalance. And yeah, I guess I think it's like something I knew all along was confirmed and affirmed to me. So it was all the emotions of like, oh, I always knew this. There was always something wrong, and I knew that, and I felt that. I knew that it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. I knew that it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. And I knew that I was capable. So it kind of just reaffirmed that, yes, there's the imbalance, and there are ways that you can help and fight that chemical imbalance. And it's also interesting to see how commenters react and subscribers react to my videos, to my old videos, because some will comment, you know, oh, she's all over the place, she jumps from thing to thing, she can never stay on track. You know, there's some pretty rude people out there, but some people put it kindly, and it's like, well, that's why. Luckily for me, again, my parents were understanding. They're good about it. My mom held me while I cried, so that was really nice. I love you, Mom. Thank you. Yeah, these topics are hard. I didn't know if I even wanted to say anything or make a video about it, but I think that if I can help others, that's the best thing, and it's the right thing to do. So, if you experience things like this in your life, and you've felt that shame or judgment or stigma, I'm so sorry. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's tough. But just know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. There's just an imbalance in your brain, and that's not your fault. Just like it's not my fault. Just like it's not my parents' fault. It's genetics' fault, but another really awesome thing is that my siblings are all really amazing too. My sister went to school for nursing, so she already knew. My siblings are very smart. You know, they already knew that, you know, there was that something there, but we just couldn't put our finger on it. And luckily, they are as caring as they are, because I reached out to my family first, obviously, my siblings and my parents, and I just let them know what was going on and what occurred. And right away, my brother called me and he asked, "Why did you cry? Why did you feel like you had to cry?" And I said, "Because it's like I knew, it's like I just knew in my heart there was something there that was different about me that I couldn't, put my finger on, that I knew." And that shame and the stigma of, yeah, now people are gonna probably look at me different because of it. And one thing I knew right away is that I don't have to tell anybody. I don't have to make it public. Nobody has to know. I could just be another person and it wouldn't matter. But I feel as though it's more important to say it. And yeah, I'm someone with ADD. This is what it looks like. This is what it looked like for me. This is how I knew. This is how I got help. And I'm just grateful that my siblings and my parents are so amazing and caring and loving, and I'm forever thankful to have the family that I have. But my brother was especially, just really good about it, and I love you very much. Thank you as well. So hello, I'm Daisy, and I am an adult with ADD. So I'm not gonna lie, after seeing my doctor and getting help and starting the process of learning how to manage it, it's been like night and day. And that's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that essentially I felt like I was sitting in the dark the whole time and someone finally turned the lights on, right? I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's ways to help manage this at all. I felt like this was going to be a lifelong battle that I just fought by myself. But I realized real quickly that I never had to fight it on my own. And since getting help, like I said, it felt like night and day. It felt like somebody turned the lights on in a dark room. It felt like when we were kids and we had those big giant TVs, and then we upgraded to the new ones and the picture was just very clear. That's how it felt. Okay. And also after getting help, it's definitely improved my way of living. I now remember why I walk in a room. I now remember to brush my teeth as much as I should every day. I shower the proper amount, and I am above and beyond what I was doing before. And let me just make it clear, before, no matter what, I always made sure that Julian was taken care of no matter what. Even if I didn't take care of myself fully, even if I didn't do everything I had to do for me, Julian was fully taken care of. That meant night and day, getting him ready for school, having his homework done, anything he needed for school, all of those things I was on top of. But now I'm just capable of so much more. And another thing that amazes me is after getting help is that to think that this is how people normally process things, and to think how this is how people are normally able to study or learn or all of these things, right? To me, I felt like it's a super ability of focus. But to everyone else, this is just how it's always been. It's their thoughts normally just fall in line with another, and they're able to do things like all these simple little things. So as I stated before, my doctor is truly amazing. She's been key in this whole thing, and it really, I texted her, just let her know how well I am doing, and she said it the best. It's a miracle when someone listens. It's a miracle when someone finally listens. All I want to do is be capable of leaving a kingdom for my son. That's the only thing that I can think of at this time, is that I have to be able to work harder to ensure that I leave something for him when that time comes, no matter what. So I truly felt like this has given me the ability to do that. I hope that I continue to see improvements in my life. I know that this is not a cure-all, but it has helped, and I'm forever grateful for all of it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. I really appreciate you guys hearing me out and hearing my story and learning a little bit more about this topic. I really do appreciate it. And maybe it'll help some of you understand why I am the way I am. But I think that it might put it into perspective for some, why my channel is the way it is, why I am the way I am. And it truly helped put things in perspective to me. And I'm glad that I, cried and got that out that day. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to think, Daisy, you're just being dramatic. And they will. But that's a part of it. That's one of the things, one of my symptoms. So, yeah, I'm glad that I got that out. I'm glad that we got to discuss this. Members, again, thank you so much for helping me out. You ensure that I get bread and milk for the month, and I really appreciate it. If you want to become a member and you haven't already, you can check that out in the description box below for as little as $2. You get perks, you get all kinds of goodies. So definitely check it out. It might be worth it to you. It's worth it to me, I tell you that. I really appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the cool that makes this train roll, and I couldn't do this without any of you. And just thank you for all the kind comments. I know that, a couple rude comments every now and then should not ruin one's day, but it just gets hard sometimes, so I just really appreciate you guys being so kind and thoughtful, not just to me, but to each other as well. Don't forget to check out my Twitch, Damn Daisy Plays, my Insta, DameVonBonDaisy, my Snap, my TikTok. I would love to see you there. It would be greatly appreciated. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. And hopefully this time it'll be a bit more organized. Thanks.